Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Monday, the 7th of September. I hope you all have a wonderful start to your week's. Hi, I'm Paul, and I'll be your host this morning. Butler delivers for England, and the IPL fixtures have been confirmed. And the All Blacks announced their squad with 7 new players. The Warriors are left frustrated. In Formula One, Lewis Hamilton didn't win. Shane Van Gisbergen picks up the second 2 races of the weekend over in supercars. Primož Roglic takes yellow in the Tour de France, and we have the results from the snow sports, as well as updates from the NBA as well. So welcome. This is your best way to start the day up to speed with all of the important sports news. And we're going to start off with the National Ski Championships down there in for the snow sports. Pierre Hudson, who is a World Cup slalom athlete, blew the competition away in the slalom yesterday, and she won the Women's National Slalom Championships by over 4 seconds to second place. Overall, though, Eliza Greig and Jack Adams won the combined discipline events down there in Cornet Peak. Eliza Greig won the Super G on Friday, was second in the giant slalom, and then third in the slalom. Jack Adams won the slalom and finished second in both the giant slalom and Super G to win that event. In the junior categories, Olivia Flight and Harrison Messenger were the National Alpine Combined Discipline champions. And in the Para Olympics and World Para Athletes, Adam Hall and Corey Peters won those events after Adam won all of the men's standings events, so the Super G, the giant slalom and slalom, and Corey won the men's sitting para slalom after, which was also his third win of the weekend. Christy Fairhurst was the first ever women's sitting national para slalom champion, so congratulations to her as well. I'm going to hand you over now to Arthur, and he's going to take us through our cricket update.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to all our viewers and listeners on the interweb. And yes, as Paul said, Butler delivers for England. Josh Butler helped to power England to a convincing win in the second T20 against Australia. Chasing 157, Butler scored 77 of 54 balls, and David Milan 42 of 32 balls as they laid the platform for the England win. They achieved it with over and over to spare. It always sounds a bit funny when you say it over and over. Anyhow, earlier, Australia never really got their innings going, losing wickets at regular intervals. Most of the players getting starts, but not being able to carry on and getting a decent total. The win for England means they wrap up the T20 series with a game to spare, and if they're able to win the third game, they'll actually move to number 1 on the T20 rankings in the ICC T20 rankings. Over to the CPL, and the TKR have put in another commanding performance. This time against the bottom place St Kitts and Nevis Patriots. The Trinbago Knight Riders bowled out the Patriots for just 77 in the 19th over, before cruising to the total in the 12th over for the loss of just 1 wicket. In today's second game, the St Lucia Zooks are playing the Jamaica Taliwars, where they are still in the first innings, and the Zooks, winning the toss and electing to bat, are on 63 for 4. And moving on to that IPL news that Paul also mentioned, and we actually get the news that we've been waiting for. The tournament schedule has been sorted. Well, the schedule released, and the first game, which is on the 19th of September, will be between the Mumbai Indians, who are last year's winners, and the Chennai Super Kings, who have had some COVID issues. The first game will be played in Abu Dhabi, with the other games overtime being played in Dubai and Sharjah as well. And that today is our cricket news, Paul.
Thank you very much, Arshwin, and I'll hand you over to Stephen, who's going to take us through our birthdays.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning to everybody tuning into what is a new working week on New Zealand Sport Radio. Good grief. In birthdays today, a former rugby league player from a famous playing family, a former All Black halfback with a cult following, and finally, a promising female cyclist. And that's where we start. things this morning. Michaela Harvey, born this day, the 7th of September 1988, is a New Zealand racing cyclist who currently rides for UCI Women's Continental Team Equip Paule Car. And just to give you an idea of how promising this young lady is, she's only 21 years old to the good today, but she started riding in 2015 and she won the time trial for the National Junior Road Championships, 2016 Oceania Junior Continental Road Championships, and first in the time trial and second in the road race. So it just gives you an idea of this young lady and her potential moving forward. And our second birthday this morning, Piri Awaho Tiho Wipu, or Piri Wipu, born this day, the 7th of September 1983, is a retired New Zealand rugby union player. Wipu played as a halfback, but also played at a first five when required. He has represented New Zealand national side, the All Blacks, between 2004 and 2013. He first won national honours against Wales in 2004. In 2005, he was called back into the All Black squad for the first Tri-Series test against South Africa, having missed selection for the 2005 British and Irish Lions tour. He represented the Hurricanes and the Blues in Super Rugby, and at Wellington and Auckland in Mitre 10 Cup. He also had brief spells with several clubs in Europe. In 2017, Wipu announced his retirement as a rugby player after a stint with Heartland, a rugby team wired up a bush. But I suppose he'll be best remembered for that 2011 Rugby World Cup, some of those heroics in the knockout stages. And finally, Tia Ropati, born this day, the 7th of September 1964, is a former professional rugby league footballer who represented both New Zealand and Samoa. Ropati was born in Auckland, New Zealand. Ropati is a member of the large Ropati family that includes fellow league players Joe, John, Iva, and rugby union player Rumi Ropati, and of course league commentator Peter Ropati. Just want to wish them all a very happy birthday today. Back to you, Paul. Back shortly with league news.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And moving over to the tennis, and Serena Williams survived a scare over in the US Open. She recovered from 2-6 in the first set to win 6-2, 6-2 to go through over there. However, former champion Angelique Kerber did not do so well, as American Jennifer Bradley knocked her out 6-1, 6-4 to reach her first ever quarter final. So congratulations to her. Obviously, the US Open's now so reaching the quarter finals stage over in New York. Moving on to the Tour de France, and in the Tour de France, Pogacar won the mountain stage, for the first stage, the mountain stage in the Pyrenees. He'd lost time in the crosswinds and is coming as an outside favourite, or an outside chance of winning the whole tournament, but winning the whole race. But say that crosswinds, losing time in the crosswinds earlier in the week and put him in trouble. But he's in good form to go and win the stage there. Primož Roglič took yellow as Adam Yates lost time, and so Primož Roglič now in yellow, the pre-race favourite there. There's a rest day on Monday, and so all the riders will be resting their legs after what has been a tough opening week in the Tour de France. I'm going to hand you back to Stephen, who's going to take us through all the news from the sport that keeps on giving. It's our NRL update.
Thanks again, Paul. In league news this morning, we look at yesterday's action. We'll have a look at the results overall, and we'll also look at the table. But our leading story this morning, our first game yesterday in NRL action, the Eels at 24, Warriors 18, after the Eels led by 16 points to 12 at halftime. Now, the Warriors were left very, very frustrated. They put in a very, very sterling effort, but a controversial call in the game has got everybody talking. But just to the action, was a good start for the Eels, getting off to a flying start in the 4th minute. Micah Sivo going in the 4th minute, and then tries to drive field, and Blake Ferguson in the 22nd and 25th minute respectively sent the Eels out to a 16-0 lead, and looked like it was going to be a long afternoon for the Warriors. But credit to the Warriors, Chanel Harris-Tavita scored a try in the 34th minute and then a miracle try in the 36th minute, one of the best tries you'll see this year to bring the Warriors back. He converted both those tries, and it was 16-12 leading into that halftime break. But there was a time during the game where Jazz Tavanga was sent to the sin bin. That was quite early in the game, and that's when the Eels piled on the points. It looked like it was a strike or a punch, but to be honest, it hardly looked like there was anything in it, and it was quite key at the time of the Eels racing in for another 2 tries during that period when Tavanga was off the paddock. But they went into the halftime at 16-12. Then we saw a real intense battle unfold in the second half, especially in the third quarter, and it looked like the Eels had sealed it when Walker Blake went over in the 63rd minute to push the Eels out to 22 points to 12, but the Warriors, being the Warriors, decided they would hit back, and centre Hayes Perham hit back with a try which was converted by Chanel Harris to bring the scores back to 22-18, but a late penalty to Mitchell Moses would send the Eels away with the victory by 24 points to 18. So just a bit disappointing for the Warriors. We go to our second game. Well, we had an absolute thriller. The Cowboys came out on top by 23 points to 22 at Queensland Country Bank Stadium after the Dragons had led by 12 points to 6 at halftime. They looked really, really good. New Warriors signing Ewan Aitken went in for a try in the 24th minute, and Michaela Ravalawa scored 6 minutes later in the 30th minute. Couple of conversions there from Zach Lomax for Dragons, 12 points. And for the Cowboys, of course, Francis Molo had gone in early to give the Cowboys the early lead, with Valentine Holmes popping over the conversion. We had an interesting second half. Obviously, Dragons going in 12-6 at halftime. But in the second half, it would be the Dragons who looked like they would come away with the win when Jacob Host scored in the 6 minutes into the second half. But true to form, we had the Cowboys bouncing back. Jake Clifford scoring in the first minute after halftime, beg your pardon. And then we had tries to Valentine Holmes and Kyle Felt to level it all up at 22 all at full time. But it would be a Valentine's Holmes drop kick in the 83rd minutes, or 3 minutes into extra time, that would seal the deal. So Cowboys winning 23, Dragons at 22. I don't know if that keeps those teams' hopes alive, but we'll go through the full list of results from Thursday. Panthers 25, Broncos 12. Friday night, we had the Knights 38-10 over Sharks. In the later game that night, Storm 22, Rabbitohs 16. Through to our Saturday games, Titans 18, Bulldogs 14. The Titans striking a little bit of late season form. Then we had West Tigers in a great comeback, 34-32 over the Sea Eagles. And the late Saturday night game, the Roosters, with Sonny Bill Williams making a little cameo for 12 minutes, 18 points to 6 over the Raiders. And of course, yesterday's results, Eels 24, Warriors 18, and Dragons, they came out on the lesser side, going down by 23 points to 22 to the Cowboys. As we head to the table, well, not a lot of change at the top. We've got the Panthers up there with 31, looking good to take out the minor premiership. The Storm, the Eels after their win remain entrenched in third placing. The Roosters on 24, the Raiders on 22, Knights 21, Rabbitohs 20, and the Sharks on 18 make up the 8, and that's who the Warriors play next Sunday. Still a couple of wins outside the 8 with 3 rounds to go. The only other team in with a bit of a chance looking at the table are probably West Tigers, and you'd have to say everybody under there, to be honest, they'd be struggling. They'd need a lot of results to go their way. So that's all our league news, Paul, but I think Wednesday night, the guys Brad and, of course, Sanjay in the standoff will give us a more detailed report on the NRL. There we have it for today. I'll be back with birthdays and more league news tomorrow, Paul.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Yes, and moving on then to the rugby. And let me just bring up the All Black squad for you so that you can see them that got named yesterday. And you can see they've got 7 new All Blacks caps. Alex Hodgman, Quentin Strange, Tupu Va'aya, Cullen Grace, Hoskins Tutu, Caleb Clark, and Will Jordan. A couple of surprise names in there. Alex Hodgman, unfortunately, was injured, missed out in the North-South game. The Tupu Va'ai wasn't in the North-South game, and neither was Callum Grace. But Callum Grace down to injury, really, and not having much game time. Coming back from that injury, he was the Form 6 early in the Super Rugby Aotearoa competition there. So those players were not part of the that North-South game at the weekend. Players unlucky to miss out. Josh Shawani, but with Richard Mwanga and Bowden Barrett, and also Damon McKenzie in the squad there, you can understand why there wasn't room to fit him in with just the 2 specialised first fives in there. Aside from that, yes, also a couple of obviously players who are injured, so Lamape and Scott Barrett, obviously missing out there as well. Yes, so a very, very strong All Black squad there, ready for any test matches that do come up. In the Farah Palmer Cup, we had 1 game on Sunday as Taranaki lost to Auckland 0-38 in that game. Also, there was an upset in the Pro 14 semi-finals where Edinburgh lost to Ulster in that one, which means that Leinster and Ulster will fight out the Pro 14 final in that one. Moving on then to the NBA, and in the NBA we had 2 games yesterday. The Raptors beat the Celtics 100-93, and the Nuggets beat the Clippers 110-101. Both of them now evening up their conference semi-finals. So Boston and Toronto are 2-2, whereas Denver and LA Clippers are 1-1 in that one. The other 2 conference semi-finals take place. We'll have games today with the Bucks versus the Heat, where the Milwaukee Bucks trailed the Miami Heat 0-3 in that one. They really do need to win today. And the Rockets and the Lakers, it's early in that one, with the Houston Rockets leading the LA Lakers by 1-0. The over in the motorsports and in Formula One, Lewis Hamilton was leading until he got penalised for stopping when the pit lane was closed. He fought back from last place on the in the race to finish 7th overall, but so it's a rare race where he hasn't won that one. Pierre Gasly for Alpha Tauri went on to win the race. Carlos Sainz in 2nd with McLaren, and Lance Stroll for Racing Point in 3rd there. So good to see some names we don't normally see at the top there. Over in the supercars, and after winning the first race, as we said yesterday, Scott McLaughlin, he got tangled with a back marker during qualifying, and so had a tough 2nd and 3rd races where Shane Van Ginsen won those 2 races. Scott McLaughlin still is top of the overall Drivers' Championship, 143 points clear of Jamie Whincup. Shane Van Ginsen now sits in 5th after winning those 2 races yesterday. You have now started the day the best way, up to speed with all of the important sports news. Don't forget, we are bringing you our Minor 10 Cup preview interviews with the coaches at 6 p.m. each day. Yesterday, it was Northland. And today, yes, it's going to be Manawatu. We've still got counties, Manukau, Waikato, and Otago all coming up. So do like our Facebook page, or you can listen to us on the go. Just search for New Zealand Sports Radio on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favourite podcatcher. Have a wonderful day, folks.